About 8 or 9 months ago, I reviewed the BMW iX xDrive 50, which is not the latest in a long line of extremely controversial BMW cars. I wasn't all that excited to drive this thing, but when I got behind the wheel and felt all the nice materials and the whole interior experience, and then actually hit the throttle and heard those iconic sounds go by my ears, this was in my mind the most surprising car that I drove and reviewed last year, because again, I got into it not all that excited, thinking it was ugly, didn't understand where it all fit into BMW's lineup, and then I got out of it thinking, wow, that was actually amazing. But it left one thing in my mind slightly unsatisfied, and that was the need for a certain letter that used to really mean something, and now they put it on every single one of their cars. Yes, I'm talking about M. I got out of that car knowing that the iX M60 was on its way with 618 horsepower and 750 pound-feet of torque. Now this is a 6,000 pound SUV, so the xDrive 50 having over 500 horsepower sounds good until you take the weight into account. So when I drove it, that was another thing that factored into my lack of excitement, because I was expecting it to not be all that quick. Even though it is electric, I was amazed at how fast it actually was. And after getting out of the car, I thought, I wonder what the M60 must be like with an extra 100 horsepower. We are going to put more emphasis on the actual driving characteristics of this car. I'm still gonna go over the important points that I have. And starting on that, we'll go into the negative first, which is the practicality. This is a ground up electric car. It's reasonable to expect, especially with a hood this long, that there would be some sort of frunk or fruit up here, if you will, but there isn't. This panel doesn't even open, which I'm sure there's a bunch of mechanical garbage that goes underneath there, but it does feel like wasted space when you consider the fact that the Tesla Model X has a frunk. But automakers these days just make the excuse, our case studies show that nobody uses front trunks anyways. Whew, wind's making me look fat. Coming from somebody who is not even close to being in the market for an electric car right now, I can't afford it, you should put a front trunk up here. I know I would use it if I bought one, but I won't. Maybe the case studies are right. It's a little frustrating. And furthering that point on practicality, we come around to the back and you're thinking, yes, this is an electric SUV, doesn't have a front trunk, so it really should make up for it back here, right? Well, press the button and of course it's electric and it's $120,000. So yes, this is electrically operated. If it wasn't, I personally wouldn't care, but I would stand in front of here whining as if I was in the target market for this car. It's got a small narrow opening. It's reasonably deep, but maybe that has something to do with the way they actually construct this car. But considering the fact that it doesn't have a front trunk, it really should pay some dividends back here, and it doesn't. Or does it? Because this car has an underfloor storage area. This is your front trunk storage, really. It's about as deep and as wide and as tall as it would be in a car that actually has a front trunk, like a Tesla Model X. At least you get something up here, but most of the time this space will probably be occupied by your charging cables. So it's useful for that, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of practicality, this thing really doesn't meet the expectations that I would have for a car this size. If you want to increase your practicality back here, you can fold forward the rear seats just from this little switch right here, but you can't fold them back up. Overall, a disappointment back here. Now I think a good segue from the bad to the good is the styling of this car. Yes, the front end is polarizing, ugly, with those huge lung grills that aren't even real because it's an electric car, you don't need that much cooling. Divides some opinions, but most people don't like how it looks, including me. I think it's a little bit excessive. It doesn't show up super badly in this darker gray color, but if you get one in white and you see one in white coming the other way on the road, then it's like, whoa, what is that beaver tooth thing? And then you look forward and crash into a tree. It is distinctive, however, which is a good thing. And that really sets the whole trend for what makes this car good in terms of styling, is that it's very distinctive. You would never confuse this thing for an X5 or an X7 or a Tesla Model X or a Mercedes EQS SUV, slightly less so on the last one, because there really is nothing on the road that looks like this car. I really like how this thing looks from the side with the holes for the door handles. These electric door handle button things look really, really cool, and they're always satisfying to press and open. And remember, I like door buttons. It's nicely simplistic along the side, but still has a nice look, good shapes and lines going to the back. At the D-pillar, there is an iX logo stenciled into the bodywork, or stenciled into a panel that's mounted to the bodywork, and that looks really cool. The back end of this car is where it really shines with those slim tail lights, and again, it's simplistic. Furthering the simplistic point, just look at the M60 badge. There isn't even any color on that M badge. They are going full out on the simplistic idea. It's raining, so I think it's a good opportunity for us to start to explore some of the good points about this car. Let's start with the interior. I'm a little bit annoyed that this has the exact same interior as the last iX that I drove, but oh well, it happens. Now, I said I was going to discuss the good points about the iX M60, which means we go straight into the back seat of the car, where you find that this interior is nothing like any other BMW that is sold right now, except for the XM. But when the iX came out, it was really a trailblazer, I think, for what BMW's future interiors are going to look like. And if it is actually a trailblazer for their future interiors, then I'm all for it, because this is an awesome, gorgeous, really nice, high quality interior. These seats have weird styling, just like on the outside of the car, where you have this denim, feels kind of like denim. I know it's not denim, but just listen to, that's the material that it is. Can you tell by the sound of me running my fingernails along it? Because I've got no better way of describing it for you guys. And then moving back, you have, feels like Alcantara suede, which is gorgeous looking right now, but we'll see how it holds up after 10 years of regular use on the road and having children back here who will inevitably spill their sippy cups all over this beautiful little suede material here, and then it won't be so nice anymore. But as a new car, this is gorgeous, isn't it? The seats aren't overly comfortable. On BMW terms, the new 7 Series and i7 has a much nicer interior and much more comfortable seats, but these will definitely do the job for long journeys. Furthering that point, there's plenty of legroom for me, and even more headroom, and shoulder room is great. I definitely feel like I could last back here on a long road trip if I had to, as a tall adult. 6'3" is what I am. The seat in front of you is an interesting shape. It's one piece, which is cool, I guess, and it's made to look a little bit more futuristic. There's a hole right here where I'm sure you can mount your harnesses if you take this thing on the track. If anybody ever actually does that, but it could be useful for that if you need it. 2 USB-C ports in each seat. I like that. That is wonderfully practical, especially if you have little kids. They want to play their Fortnite things on their iPad, whatevers, and yeah, that'll be good for long journeys. Occasionally, the range anxiety will play a slight factor in that, where Jimmy's just about to get that victory battle royale, and then from the front seat, he hears, "Jimmy, turn off your iPad! You're wasting the range on my car. We're gonna have to stop in this bad town and let this thing charge for an hour, and then we'll probably get carjacked or something." That is a conversation that will happen, I guarantee it. Maybe not with that level of intensity, but there's a little hole here, and that's where you can tap into the wonderful world of BMW accessories. You could put an iPad holder here for Jimmy to use until he gets yelled at. You can put a coat hanger here and whatever else they sell at the dealership. I can't be bothered to be interested in that anymore. Here is another big mistake by BMW that we can thank Tesla for, because I first saw it in the Tesla Model 3. Look, you're in a BMW, the owner of this car is going to be weaving in and out of traffic and tailgating the guy in front of him. That's just a fact of life. And sometimes it might get a little bit intense and scary for you back here, so you go, what is my hand supposed to do here? I need to grab on and hold on for dear life as we make it to that business meeting or whatever. Literally, I can't do anything with my hand. I mean, no, that won't work. My mistake, there is somewhere to grab. Nope, my finger doesn't fit, never mind. No, these seats are too fat for that. That's all you get. Why don't they just give us grab handles? Maybe it's to fit the curtain airbag. Come on, they're chairmans. They'll figure out a way to, we shall figure out a way to incorporate a airbag system up here as well as a grab handle, yeah? I hope they do for the next iX, because this is a little annoying for me from a passenger point of view. In the center here, there is basically no transmission tunnel because you guessed it, it's electric. How would you have known by this point in the video? The seat is firmer in the center, especially on the backrest. Like, it kind of feels like I'm lying up against a rock almost in comparison to the other two seats. So it isn't that comfortable when you've got two people on either side of you, so you definitely won't want to be stuck here, but it won't be utter misery like it will be in some other cars. There's also a little climate control system that if you're the middle seat passenger, you can play with, and you can mess with your siblings or your friends on either side of you by just turning on their heated seat, because you've got quick and easy access to it like that. This car doesn't come with a third row option, which honestly, I'm kind of glad right now, because otherwise I would have to be testing it and I don't think I'd fit back there or be happy. This car is $120,000, which means we have to do the luxury car test. Oh yeah, it's got soft closed doors. Things only get better up here because, oh man. Well, first of all, I don't have much room up here. I think I need to move my seat back. Oh wait, this is Mercedes-Benz apparently, yeah? The seat controls are up on the door, yeah? Is my German accent getting any better? Probably not. This iX has those crystal buttons and things, which is really tacky and gives off the idea that it's only desirable. Okay, let me turn it, then go off. Automatic, we'll turn auto off. I want my fan off. We will get to that climate control in a second because it sucks. This crystal gives off the idea that it was marketed towards middle-aged women in Southern California who are really into spending all their money on jewelry, like really expensive diamonds and things, at least to me. But I gotta say, call me a middle-aged woman who lives in Southern California and spends a lot of her money on jewelry, because I am a sucker for this crystal stuff in here. Just a gorgeous shape, and it's really smooth, but it's got all these nice angles on it. Reflects, and it's just absolutely beautiful. The volume dial as well. Even the gear selector, which is barely a selector, it's just a nub sticking out. Again, they look tacky and stupid, but God, they're gorgeous, and I really like that. All the buttons are just simplistic, and they're printed on the wood. It's a taptic feedback thing. It just looks really good and simplistic, and that's the whole design ethos of the inside of this car. Tesla takes the simplistic idea to an absolute extreme, which I hate, but I think BMW has found a happy medium between overly simplistic and having some good design. These climate vents are a little bit too big, strangely large. Again, it doesn't do the simplistic thing as well as a Tesla does, but it actually has some design in it, unlike a Tesla. And I really like that. The downside of having a simplistic interior is that you have to shove everything into a climate menu. This climate control system, which absolutely sucks and they need to change it. It's a bit annoying that you even have to bother learning how a climate system works when you can't just have buttons that are easy to understand. And yes, there's the car flashing up with another thing that I hate, which is gesture controls, because I can't ever get them to work properly. That's copyright. Turn it off. Oh, I gotta make it so that YouTube can't hear it. La 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 la. Copyright music. La 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 la. Turn off. Oh my gosh. I totally suck at using them. Maybe it's just user error, but I'm not a fan. Turn it off. I really like iDrive 8 overall, except for the climate menu, but I think it's intuitive, but also looks great. And it's not overly smartphone-like, so it feels like they actually put some serious effort into making this infotainment system look good and work well. When I said last year that this interior feels like BMW from the future, turns out I was right, because BMWs from the future, or the now, are starting to adopt this whole iX feel in here. And again, I'm totally all for that because this car has a wonderful interior. Now I'm thinking I want to drive this thing. All right, here we go. So the one thing that will really set this iX M60 apart from the xDrive 50 that I drove last year is the way it drives. Has like 90 horsepower more. So the seats actually massage you, which is cool. I have no idea if they do that in the xDrive 50. I didn't test that. Since this is more of an emphasis on driving, we're gonna put more of an emphasis on the maneuverability of this very heavy vehicle. It's an impressive turning circle. Let's try parking it in between the coolest high school graduate who can't seem to not hit their car against everything that it's ever come across. Well, it's parked between them and their Malibu and this extremely handsome Volvo right here. So the one thing you notice when you're parking a car like this is how light the steering is, which makes it very easy to maneuver. Try reversing here. I look down and I see never rely solely on the camera system, which yes, I agree with, except for the fact that the view out of the back of the car is not very good. That rear window is quite small, but you do have one of those really cool reversing assistant things that'll reverse the car for you. But let's give this Volvo here a couple new scratches. Again, it's got a really, really good parking sensor system, so it's telling me I am approaching this handsome man's Volvo here, and it's a little bit over dramatic. I'm not that close to it. I'm honestly closer to the Malibu here. Yeah, it keeps like stopping me because it doesn't trust me, I think. It's a good thing this thing has parking sensors and a good camera system and the whole reversing assistant, all that, because otherwise the blind spots back there are a little bit much. I'm just running it over all the worst bumps in this parking lot and I feel pretty much nothing. I believe I'm in efficient mode. I'm in personal mode. So when I go between these drive modes here, it's not just the lights and the infotainment system that changes, it's also the heads-up display in front of me. It's nice that changing the modes actually does stuff. And it actually, I think changing the mode to digital art turned on my massaging seat, which I don't really understand why. All right, M60. Yeah, so that, wow. Yeah, 620 horsepower, thereabouts. It feels like it, definitely. And it's nice that this heads-up display in front of me is flashing the speed limit because it's going, slow down, you're not on the Autobahn! When you're accelerating just to regular speeds like a normal human being, the iconic sounds are still making those cool spaceship noises, but it's not really loud or annoying or anything. I feel so comfortable because I got my massaging seat on. It's gonna really suck getting out of this into a $3,000 Volvo with no massaging seats. In fact, they're ripped. So yeah, it's comfortable. The damping on the suspension is really nice. You feel all the bumps. It's nice and communicative, but not a single bump will break your bones or pull your muscles or anything. If you want to be uncomfortable, put it into sport mode and floor it. That might make you and your passengers uncomfortable. You'll be laughing. You know, it's like being on a roller coaster. So with that being said, I'm going to engage sport mode. Here we are. The lights turned green for me. My obligatory check for police officers. I think we're clear. All right, here we go. Okay, that was 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, which is what this car can do. The acceleration in this car blurs the lines between fun and hurting your neck. That's how we can describe the acceleration. Also, the regenerative braking is a little weird. It almost feels like the car's downshifting. It's so dumb. This car does disguise your speed really well. Now that I'm going above 40, there is definitely some road noise coming into the cabin. This thing is really, really comfortable over bumps. It has that M badge on the back, but that doesn't take anything away from the comfort or usability of this car. And yeah, there is body roll. You'll never be able to disguise the weight of this car that well, but this does it pretty well. Listen to that noise as I slow down. It's just goes. It's interesting, and I kind of like it. So I have it in relax mode now. It's playing like this soothing on and off, just white noise thing, which is a little weird. It's a little dumb. And relaxed means that the steering is a little bit lighter, the suspension is more compliant, it makes less noise except for this weird tune that it's playing. So yeah, the iX M60 still suffers from some of the things that were wrong with it before. Practicality, some of the looks aren't very great on it, but it does drive really, really nice. Doesn't feel as crazy fast as I was expecting it to be, given how blown away I was by the xDrive 50 last year, but it is certainly no slouch. Not for everybody, but you can't really argue with the way it drives. For what it is, a 6,000 pound SUV, it drives really, really well. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope everybody has an awesome day. Thank you.